So Daoism and Zen Buddhism. And I will start with two symbols. You probably have seen these symbols. Last time I was wearing a t-shirt with the Taoist symbol, and Cornell said, next time you should wear a t-shirt with the Zen symbol. So yesterday I used acrylic and painted. I painted this Zen symbol. It's also called Enso circle. So the two symbols actually tells a lot about philosophy behind it. With the Taoist symbol, we see yin and yang, and the yin and yang is not showing a dualistic world, but rather I put down dynamic homeostasis, which means they are interrelated and they always changing, transforming, and reaching to a balanced state. And last time I mentioned the example of daytime change into nighttime and nighttime change to daytime. So the daytime is the white part of symbol, and nighttime is the dark side. And the other good example is male and a female. And a male usually is the white, light white part of the symbol, and female is the dark side of the symbol. But within the dark side, there is a part of white dot, and within the white, there's a dark. So it's interrelated. So daytime turns into nighttime, and nighttime turns into daytime. And within our human bodies, females have both estrogen and testosterone, different levels. And with the change of ages, the older you get, also the dynamic of the hormones change. So we are not just one set of elements that never change. It always changes, but it's dynamic, and it always nature and human beings, we have a relationship of change and transformation, and we usually reach into a balance. That's the homeostasis. And the interconnectedness, as I mentioned, that you see within the white half of the circle, there's the black, and within the black, there's white. And if they change, they don't stay the same. So they're always interconnected. And there's also the concept of Wu Wei, and there's a lot of different translations of Wu Wei because it's translated from a Chinese text. I think the best translation is effortless action, which means, like, if you ride a bicycle, when you start to learn, you have to focus. When you learn to swim, you have to focus. It might be hard, but once you learn it, riding a bicycle, driving a car, swimming, it's effortless. It's just part of your kind of part of your skills that you don't have to be trying so hard to make it happen. But the process of reaching that state, it takes time. So that's the yin and yang. And then we come to this Zen symbol. It's also called Enso circle. And this circle is, there are three things I put down here. Sunyata, which kind of means emptiness. And I think sometimes when we think of emptiness, it's kind of negative. What's there when it's empty? Everything's empty. But I think thinking of being emptiness, it points to the potentialities. When it's empty, like a cup, when a cup is empty, there's a potential you can fill in water, you can fill in tea, you can fill in coffee. But if it's full, you cannot put anything in. So the emptiness gives us potentialities to learn, to enjoy, to make life actually more full. And this symbol also has the imperfection. So you see the symbol is not completely round usually. We have the symbol here, right? So you see it always has an opening. It indicates that there's spontaneity, interconnectedness, also imperfection. And thinking about this concept of imperfection, it gives me the courage to draw this symbol on my t-shirt. So this is not perfect, but if I want to be perfect, I probably wouldn't have courage to do. But I think imperfection is just part of life and a part of learning. And this symbol indicates that there is a natural ways of looking at things, that being imperfect is just very natural and normal. That reminds me of a song by Leonard Cohen. Something about there's a crack in everything, and light comes in because of this crack. Without the crack, light cannot come in. And the first time I listened to that music, it gave me chills, and I didn't know why, but I think I kind of intuitively understood that that he saw, and also in Zen Buddhism, the symbol shows that imperfection and a crack like actually help us to let light in, to help us to improve. If you think you're perfect, what can you do to improve? So we give us permission to acknowledge that we are imperfect, this world is imperfect, but there's always this potential of learning and being more full. So these two symbols give us some basic philosophy behind them. And now a little bit history of Daoism and Zen Buddhism. Most people have heard Zen Buddhism and associated with Japanese branch of Zen Buddhism, but actually it started in China. It's called Jian. So it's C-H-A-N in Chinese. It started C-H-A-A-N. It's a branch of Mahayana Buddhism, originated in India. And then from India to China, and then from China to Korea and Vietnam, and later to Japan. So this in Chinese it's called Jian. In Japanese it's called Zen, but most likely people heard Zen Buddhism, not Jian Buddhism, but they are basically similar. And usually Zen Buddhism practice meditation, mindfulness, and a detachment. So detachment is a word that needs some explanation. One of the lessons that we learn is about the sufferings and how we can overcome sufferings. And one of the explanations is that we suffer because we are too attached to the idea, to even to some people, and then you cannot get out of the overwhelming emotions. But if you are able to see things from another perspective, to be detached, it's a way of reducing suffering. The Chan school was also influenced by Taoist philosophy, and we talked a little bit about this last time. Major philosophical works of Daoism starts with I Ching. In Chinese phonetic, it's called I Ching, but when sometimes translated, it's I Ching, but it really should be I Ching. And Dao De Jing. And the two of the founders of this philosophy is Lao Tzu and Zhuangzi, but I'm not going to talk too much about them today. So this philosophical works of Chan or Zen Buddhism, there's the most influential sutra is called Platform Sutra. And Platform Sutra is attributed to Huineng. And there's some other sutras. And Huineng is the sixth patriarch of Zen Buddhism, and he was born in China. And I will tell you a story about Huineng that's very telling of what Zen Buddhism is. Spiritual practices of both Daoism and Buddhism consist of chanting, sitting meditation. So we did chanting and sitting meditation today. And there's also, we did walking meditation, but in a more traditional practice. In Taoist will be Tai Chi, Tai Chi Chuan, Tai Chi, most of you know, and in Buddhist tradition will be yoga, but Tai Chi and yoga need a lot of practice. You have to take classes. So here is a comparison of Daoism and the Zen Buddhism. They are a little bit different focus. So in Daoism, the focus is more on the nature, whereas in Zen Buddhism, the focus is more on the mind. So in Daoism, again, is the understanding the nature and to live in harmony with the nature. Whereas in Buddhism, Zen Buddhism in particular, is pointing to the mind. In Daoism, health and longevity is a very large concern. That's why the Chinese traditional medicine is very much part of Taoist philosophy and still practiced today, because its philosophy influences its medical system. And we talk about Wu Wei meditation in Daoism, meditation with a focus on Qi, and Qi is life force, energy, both energy in nature and in life. Last time I talked about some people can feel the Qi circulating in the body. Just like for most of us, it's difficult to think and to visualize how you would like realize the Qi circulating body, just like blood circulating body. I don't have this skill, but I have met people who do. And that's one of my goals in life. One day I'll practice and be able to feel Qi and direct Qi. So this is kind of Taoist side, but in Zen Buddhism, as I said, it's more like focused on the mind. So meditation, mindfulness, concept of non-self and duality. These are important concepts and practices when we do meditation. So a little bit more about Zen history of Zen Buddhism. In Chinese, it's called Jian. Jian Buddhism originated in China in the 6th century CE with the arrival of the Indian monk Bodhisattva. And the early period is marked by the 6th patriarch of Jian, including this Huineng that I'm going to talk about him because he is the most, or at least one of the most influential figures in this tradition. And he is the founder of the Southern Enlightenment. So there are two basic schools. One is gradual enlightenment, another is Southern Enlightenment. And Huineng, he was illiterate from working class. He experienced a sudden awakening after overhearing a recitation of the Diamond Sutra. That's also one of the early sutras. Like here we'll say like scriptures. In Buddhist, we say sutra. He then traveled to study under the 5th patriarch, Hongren, eventually received the Dharma transmission. The story is documented in the Platform Sutra. That's the most important sutras in Zen Buddhism. So here is part of the main story. The patriarch, that's the 5th patriarch, asked when he went to the temple, he was very young and inexperienced. So the patriarch, 5th patriarch, asked him, who are you and what do you seek? And he said, your disciple is a commoner from Xingzhou of Lingnan. I have traveled far to pay homage to you and seek nothing other than Buddhahood. And 5th patriarch said, so you are from Lingnan and a barbarian. How can you expect to become Buddha? The historical background at that time was like there are regions that are more educated, wealthy, and there are regions kind of like poor and uneducated, like a lot of people. And he was from this southern region that's supposed to be like not enlightened. So that was the background. And he said, although people exist as northerners and southerners in the Buddha nature, there's neither north nor south. A barbarian differs from your holiness physically, but what difference is there in our Buddha nature? But anyway, he was like young, uneducated, so he was told to do manual labor, to split firewood, and to plant rice in the backyard of the monastery. And he didn't really go into the main hall to meditate and study with others. And then one day, I didn't put the whole story. So the story went and it's documented in the Platform Sutra. One day, the 5th patriarch held a poetry context, kind of related to Buddhism. And there are people who contributed different poems. And one of the most prominent, learned Zen Buddhist contributed a poem. And then Huineng, he was outside of the room, but he heard people were doing the poems, and he asked about it. What were they doing? And they would like told him, they were like, today there's a theme and everyone composed a poem. So Huineng, he made a poem. So now I have two poems. One is by a learned Buddhist that was supposed to become a sixth patriarch. Another is Huineng, who is illiterate and was splitting wood and pounding the rice. And I put them side by side, and then I'm going to ask you, which one do you think is Huineng's? Okay, so the first one, the body is the Bodhi tree. The mind is like bright mirror stand. And all times we must strive to polish it and must not let dust collect. And there's the Chinese version, 生是菩提树，心如明镜台，时时勤拂拭，勿使尘灰尘埃. And then on the other side, Bodhi originally has no tree. The mirror has no stand. The Buddha nature is always clear and pure. Where is there room for dust? 菩提本无树，明镜亦非台，本来无一物，何处惹尘埃? One of my favorite poems. So now you have two sides. There are some questions about these two poems. When a fifth patriarch saw these two poems, he immediately knew who should be chosen as the sixth patriarch. So looking at these, which one do you think is Huineng's?
The second one.
The second one. The second one. Okay. Yeah, all very steeped in the tradition. That's the second one. So now look at the two poems again, and then I have questions for you to talk about, to think about. So the first one is by, his name is Sheng Xiu. So what does Sheng Xiu's poem tell us about his view of the self? What does Huineng's poem tell us about his view of the self? In what ways does the poem reveal philosophical views of Zen Buddhism? Are the two poems complementary to each other or opposing to each other in their messages? And why? So I will have 5 minutes discussion over here. One is, what does the poem tell us about the view of the self, and how does it reveal philosophical views of Zen Buddhism? Are they complementary or opposing? Okay, anyone want to start?
As I'm going in, I think they're complementary. Okay. And one speaks of polishing the mirror, and that's discipline. And then the second one talks about being no space for dust to collect, so that's emptiness. As I'm going now.
Thank you. Any other take? Yes.
First thing I noticed, and why I thought it was the second one, was the statement. The Buddha nature is always clear and pure. Like it's not something you have to work on. It's something that's always there. And I think that's like a base point to Buddhism. And then I also thought that the same kind of like what he said, where is there room for dust? But that's basically just what I'm talking about. Like, and then on the left side, he talks about tending to it. So it's almost like, you know, you have to keep tending to who you are as a person, or your true nature, where your true nature exists as it is on the other side. So.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else want to? Yes.
Well done, bowing in. Seems like the second one is almost a rebuttal to the first one. The second one says basically, you don't know what you're talking about. You know, I mean, kind of blunt, but that's the way I read it. The body is, and basically the second one contradicts virtually everything first. That was my take on it. Well done, bowing out.
Okay.
All right, bowing in. I think it does. It's quite interesting to see the contradiction, but it also reminds me of the sitting in Zen, where you're all perfect, but you all have a little room to improve. So I think they are complementary. Like they're both. They're complementary and contradictory. Fine.
Anyone else? Yes.
I agree they're complementary. I think I'm also adding the perspective of how isn't there that story where like disciple is like talking to the master and the master asks you don't have a nose, and like he pinches it and doesn't hurt. I think the first one is it's a reminder that we do have bodies, we do exist a dimension, historical dimension of things. It's not just nothing, it's not just all imaginary. So I think complementary and contradictory.
So thank you. The all the perspectives give insight to how we understand. But I think that I've read some background discussions. One of the things that it says is at that time there are two schools. One school is the gradual enlightenment, another is the sudden enlightenment. So Huinen's poem kind of points to the sudden enlightenment, and Zen Buddhism kind of has more emphasis on the sudden enlightenment versus the gradual enlightenment. That's one thing. And the second thing, is Huinan, the Platform Sutra says, and scholars still debate if it's historically true, it's just a metaphor. But according to Platform Sutra, he is illiterate, and he had been just kind of meditating and listening. He was not reading. So for someone who probably has insight by meditating and not by reading, this second poem makes more sense in this respect. The first poem is more in the Chinese tradition, will be like Confucius tradition that would say that you have to study hard, you have to learn knowledge, and you have to improve. They are complementary in some ways because we do have to learn and to practice. But the second poem focuses more on the Buddha nature. Like when we are born, we all have Buddha nature. So it is more of revealing our Buddha nature that learn to be a Buddha. So the first poem kind of focus more like learn to be a Buddha. And second poem focus more like to reveal, to meditate and to reveal. So this is the sudden enlightenment versus gradual. So with the gradual and the traditional Buddhism from India, there's karma and there's many lifetimes of rebirths. You don't get enlightened this life. You need many lives of practice and rebirths. With sudden enlightenment, you can become Buddha in this life. Importance of meditation and a direct insight over gradual learning, many lives of rebirths. So this platform sutra is a foundational text of Chan Zen Buddhism, attributed to the teachings of Huineng. And he was born between 638 to 713 CE. Huineng's teaching in the platform sutra focuses on themes like inherent enlightenment, non-dual wisdom, and the importance of meditation over reliance on scriptures or intellectual understanding. And the second part of the story was that because he was from kind of outsider, not in that region, and not learned, educated, learned disciples like many other people already in the temple, the sixth patriarch wanted to appoint him as the next patriarch, but was afraid that other people would not take it, will rebel against outsider and someone without much education. So he had to flee. He had to flee to outside of the temple, and he started and continued his school in another part of the country. After 8 or 10 years, he started to reveal that he was the fifth patriarch, because they were giving him some kind of like their things that direct gift from the sixth patriarch to this fifth patriarch, and he had to reveal what he inherited from the sixth patriarch. But that's after many years that he started to gather his disciple. But because of his background was so different from others, he was not able to. He was not recognized as the fifth patriarch. But now, whether it's in China, Japan, Vietnam, they all point back to Huineng, so that he is a very important figure. And we talk about these. Now, the last thing I thought it's interesting is to read original text to get some insight. So I have text from Dao De Jing, the Taoist text, and platform sutra. And also the questions for you to think about is first, which one is Taoist text, which one is the Buddhist text, and how they are similar or different. So I'll read first on the left to you, on the left. The more you know, the less you understand. Knowing others is intelligence. Knowing yourself is true wisdom. Mastering others is strength. Mastering yourself is true power. A good traveler has no fixed plans and is not intent upon arriving. And then on the other side, the second 3 readings, the self nature are fundamentally and naturally pure. For things to reveal themselves to us, we need to be ready to abandon our views about them. To have right views is to transcend the mundane world. To have false views is to be in the mundane world. So which is the Taoist and which is Zen Buddhist? The first one, the first three quotations is Tao. And the second set is Buddhist. That they, what do you see the connections between Taoism and Zen Buddhism? What are the major similarities and differences between Taoism and Buddhism? How may we be nourished by these two spiritual traditions and practices? So these are the three questions. And let's go back. Oh, let's go back to the text. Anyone want to comment? Yes.
Bobby, well,
That a Buddhist or Taoist
No.
tradition? Oh, so it is Taoist, okay. And Taoist and a Buddhist, especially Zen Buddhists, have the closest relations in their ideas and philosophy. Oh,
I also think that on that quote, the good traveler has no fixed plans also correlates quite strongly with the self natures fundamentally and naturally pure.
yeah. And when we do the walking meditation, you said something along this line.
Now that I'm bowing in, the last one about having the right view, that's definitely Buddhist, because that's about, that makes me think about the Eightfold Path. And how it's also related to ignorance and being awake.
Mhm.
Now that I'm bowing.
The truest Taoist tradition will say there's no right view or false views. It just it is what it is. Okay, last question, comments? Yes.
I believe it was Taoist with the first one that you read, the more, the less you understand, because I see yin and yang in that. That's like more and less, right?
Mhm.
And then the right view and the false view, but went back to like teachings like Buddhism. So that's why I thought about that. But I also thought about your cup theory.
Mhm.
That speaks to me about, like, you don't come with full answers, you come with questions. So if your cup is full of answers, then you're not going to learn anything. So you don't have questions. You don't have to know.
Thank you. We don't have to have answers to all questions. We need to be open to other point of views so we can learn. So I think that's all of my presentation. Thank you for listening. Jian, bye now.